believe your name was, you were born with the name Bobby Louie Stone here in Dallas. You want to tell us about your family?
Well, there's not much to tell. There's not much to tell. I'm the oldest we have 10 children in our family. And they're all good Christian people. They're grown, got grown children now. So,
where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Arson.
Oh, that's a very fine Catholic girls' school. Very, very neat. And then I believe you took nurses training
St. Paul.
St. Paul Hospital. And then you met an interesting man while you were in St. Paul's.
Yes.
Who was that?
Barney Weinstein.
What did he tell you?
Well, he just kept wanting me to come out for an interview. And I knew Vince Edwards, the man from Dr. Ben Casey, we called him Ben Crazy. And he kind of helped me get all this together. We were real good pals. And
they convinced you that you would make a good dancer.
And the man I worked for, Bob Russell at the Zoo Bar, they all got me all ready, and I went out there, and there I was.
How long were you at the theater later? Now, that's the one out on Forest Lane. That was the first one.
Yes. I was with Barney for years. I think that's about 24, 23 when I started. And I forgot, well, I left Barney and went on the road, and I went to Colony Club, AIDS Colony Club.
Why did you go on the road?
Well, because we get kind of stale after a while. I stay in the same place like all year, and in the summer you travel because the conventions were every week, once a year, so you could stay here and raise your children and then go on the road in the summer.
And make enough money,
make
a lot more money.
Get to know a lot of people.
When did you first meet Jack Ruby?
When I was about 15 or 16.
How did you happen to meet him?
At the Silver Slipper?
Silver Spur.
Silver Spur, yeah. And we used to go there dancing. In fact, that's where I learned to dance. And he had a band named Red Calhoun we used to all go see. And then I remember a fight he had one night with my girlfriend's husband. And he bit his thumb off, I think, or finger. But then Jack would pick you up and take care of you. Everybody loved him. He's in the middle of everybody all the time.
Now, how old were you when you met the dancer we know as Candy Bar?
When I met Candy, I imagine I was about 15 or 16.
But you were not dancing. You were still in school.
She wasn't dancing either.
Well, how old was she?
She's about 15, I believe.
And what kind of work was she working?
She's a car hop.
And I think...
And her husband was Troy Phillips, and we were all, because my foster, she's like a real sister to me. We grew up like that. Johnny Faye Shumway. Well, they were all friends with Troy, and so when Troy met her, we met her at this car lot place, hamburger place, Trolley Inn, I believe. And we just kind of got to know her like that.
Well, now, your name, Shumway?
No, Shumway, I'm sorry.
Shumway.
Shoemaker's Wally's last name.
But Shumway, who was that?
Johnny Shumway. Oh, she's a friend I met real young in life, and we grew up calling each other sisters, and she's always a waitress at the clubs where I worked. And
were you a waitress, or were you always a dancer?
Always a dancer.
I think they called y'all strippers, is that correct?
Well, we'd say exotic, they'd say stripper, we'd say exotic, you know.
But you never did it. During those days, you never got completely nude.
No. In a lot of days, they just started this, I don't know, it's been a while, I imagine about 10 or 15 years where you could do this.
Well, now, I have heard, I don't know how true it is, that Candy Bar, now, her name was Juanita Strasher, and then Phillips, and then I have heard that Candy Bar did work a bit as a prostitute. Have you ever heard that?
Well, I imagine everybody heard we all did.
I wanted to ask you about when you went to work for Jack Ruby, What did you think about him? What was his reputation when you went there? Did you find him the way you expected him to be? Or different?
No, he was just very kind to me because my husband, Wally Weston, always did business with him. I never picked up a check. All the time I was married to Wally, he did all that. He just gave me what I needed. But I didn't ever get around Jack or anything. He never came to my dressing room. And when he built the runways and the Dallas Gypsy, Rosalie, maybe did, and stuff, he was just always real happy about it. But I do know he raised Cain for the other people. But I just kind of, I didn't mix out front or anything. I wasn't allowed to.
Now, I was refreshing my memory by rereading some of the Warren Commission testimony, and I found Tammy True's testimony. And she said that Wally and you left because Wally was so jealous of you, he wouldn't let you dance anymore.
No, that's not true. I went to the hospital. I got very ill. In fact, everybody thought I was dead. The band, everybody was trying to just really keep me going. And I went to the hospital. I was unconscious like 27 days. That's when Peggy Steele and Tommy Zolke, the writer, and Dave Gardner, and all they would come up there and try to make me laugh so I would die. So, no, I don't think Tammy was even there then. No, I got better, and everything was, but I went on back to Jackson, and Wally was in Oklahoma. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Tammy was working with Wally there when this happened.
I have asked you about a girl named Joy Dale. She danced under the name Joy Dale, and her name was actually Joyce McDonald. You remember her, Joy Dale?
The name Joy Dale sounds familiar.
She was a carousel stripper in '63. One of the important things that it may have no importance, but her maiden name was Witherspoon, Joyce Lee Witherspoon, and she was married to someone named McDonald. There was a lady who was a friend of J.D. Tippett, the policeman, and her name was Johnny, I think Thompson maybe at the time. By the time Johnny Thompson testified or gave an affidavit to the House Select Committee on Assassinations, her name was Johnny Witherspoon. Now, I don't know whether Witherspoon was her maiden name or whether she had married someone named Witherspoon. Did you ever hear of a woman who dated J.D. Tippett? She has admitted this. Did you know that?
No, but I know the name.
Okay. But you don't know Joyce McDonald or Joy Dale.
Joy Dale's the name I remember.
Oh, right. Another interesting thing about Joyce McDonald or Joy Dale was that just before she moved to West 10th, where she was living at the time, 424 and a half West 10th, in Oak Cliff when Oswald was killed.
Yeah.
Just before that, she had lived at the same address where Helen Louise Markham lived.
Yeah.
And Helen Louise Markham had, she's the one who was supposedly with Tippett when he died. Diane Hunter, you remember her?
Oh, yes.
What do you remember about her?
I think that Jack let her be on the show some night, if it's Sunday night and it's slow and we didn't have very many dancers. Really what I really remember of her, she got in this costume and she'd pull a bow and arrow, and Jack had this big picture of a gold horse and the band sits here, and she shot that thing and he went through the horse. Now, the band was never going to work with her again, but she never was a picture star or something. Now, after Jack went to the county and everything, I think a few of them girls stayed up there and just made what they think that they wanted to make a book. But see, at that time, the President of the United States had been assassinated, and I did not think for the family and for the country that a striptease dancer would look too cute, you know? I mean, not that I did anything wrong and that I didn't care about him, because I did, but at that time, I was thinking like other people.
I
You
have,
know, you'd be pretty cheap to get publicity off the president, and that's what they did.
that, I agree with you on that.
And it's all false.
I have read that the Carousel Club was full of red carpeting and gilt and gold stuff. But the thing that Jack was the most proud of was that gold stallion.
That's right, that's what she shot.
Well, how did Jack react to this?
He was very mad. I her a few dumb things. Jerked it out and told her to get away and get off and get out of here. She wasn't an answer anyway.
Do you remember Cindy Emerald?
Oh, yes.
And she was married to an agent,
Jack Cole.
Jack Cole.
Been out here for divorce.
Oh,
She is a
and
wonderful.
really?
Oh, yes.
And Shari Dior, do you remember her? Dior Angel. I'm sorry, that's a different
Yeah, I
one.
know Dior Angel. She's
Oh.
a little short back Mexican girl with blonde hair.
Okay. And you remember Tammy True?
Oh, yes.
That was Nancy Monell
Yes.
Powell.
She lives in Fort Worth.
And Peggy Steele.
Oh, yes. Peggy is one of my dear friends.
And I understand she's very ill
Very
now
ill.
in
Very
Nashville.
Nashville.
And Sherry Lynn is one of your neighbors.
Oh, yeah, she is. She and Joe Garcia, her husband.
Her real name is Kay Garcia.
Mhm.
And actually she's the one who brought Tammy True
Oh,
to
yes.
the
She taught her. And then they had words.
Oh, Little Lynn, that was Karen Bennett.
Well,
Karen.
now I knew Little Lynn, but I just wasn't real close. Yeah, I tried to picture her. The name is so familiar.
Oh, now these girls, have I named any of them who started in like you did at the theater lounge? No. But now Beverly Oliver over at the Comedy Club, she started at the theater lounge.
Oh, she was always at the Comedy Club that I remember.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
They had a amateur show there too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And she danced, but she danced with a mask because she didn't want her parents to know that she was dancing, and she was from Garland, so she always wore a mask.
She's a very beautiful girl.
Oh,
I've
yes.
seen her. And Alice Alexander was a waitress. She was not a dancer.
Yeah, that's right.
Is she the one they called the Champagne Girl?
She was a champagne
All
girl.
right. But there are more.
Kathy Kay was.
I got confused about this Champagne Girl because there must have been more than one.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All the waitresses, they just had the title.
Now, Kathy Kay Coleman married Harry Olson.
That's right.
She married in January '64. Kathy was from England.
England. She's
And-
over here. She's divorced, and so when she divorced her husband that was in the military, then she was over here illegal.
And
So when all this happened, she left.
she and her husband ran into Jack the night before he killed Oswald.
Yes.
And that has always been a very strange episode to me. Have you had any insight on that?
No, because
At the garage?
Kathy, I guess I knew her as well as anybody. And Jack, or Harry, there wasn't nothing,
Harry Olson was supposed to have been guarding an estate on 8th Avenue. Most of the critics and researchers have traveled 8th Avenue over there time and again, and we can find nothing that passes an estate. I have heard a time or two that a man named Bill Swafford.
Bill Swafford, the policeman.
Yes.
Yeah, I know him.
All right, this was supposed to have been his aunt who lived on this estate. And he was unable to guard the estate, so he gets Harry Olson with his bad leg to guard the estate. Have you ever heard of any of this?
No, but I know him.
All of this is in the 26 volumes.
Yeah, Bill Swafford, it's been just a while back I seen him. I believe he's driving limousines for some people now, since he's retired.
What about Bonnie Kelly? Did you know her?
No, she have another name?
Well, no, Pixie Lynn.
Oh,
You remember
yeah.
her?
Oh, yeah, she named me. Helen Smith.
Helen Smith. Now, she was from a very prominent
Yes.
Highland Park
That's
family.
right.
Where is she now? She
I don't
lived
know,
in
but she moved back, and last time I heard from her, she had a grooming place for poodles and things in Irving.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What about Jada, Janet Conforto? She's the one.
Jada. Yeah, I remember her. Well, I was kind of sick then. That's when people would come in and take, I don't know why the other girls on the show couldn't take my place, but Jack always called another act in when I was very sick that time. So for about, see, I was unconscious like 27 days, so I was probably in there about 2 months. So I think that she filled in for me.
Now, Mary Farrell.
Oh yeah, Millie's a sweet girl.
Is she still alive?
Oh,
Do you know her?
Oh yeah, she married Bill Shope, that was married to my real good friend Gene Shope when he just passed away a year ago, October. I don't know if she came.
But he owned my club.
The My Club.
Yeah. Not the My Old My Club.
No, the My Club on Industry.
What did you know about the My Old My Club?
Just My Old My, and I thought I better not go in there. You know, My Old My.
And you did marry, in the 50s, you married Wally Weston, whose real name was Walter
Darrell Shoemake.
And you had a son,
yes.
Johnny Shoemake, and Wally died in about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes.
That would have been about 75 or 70.
Probably about 70.
About 80, somewhere in there, about 80.
Yeah, he died down in Florida.
Now, Joe Garcia was an MC at the Colony Club.
No, Joe Garcia was the band leader. He was the drummer.
Band leader.
The best there was.
All right, and Billy Willis
was the band leader at the Carousel. He's the one that wrote all the songs about me.
Now, Billy Willis lived in Irving.
I didn't even know where Billy lived, but I mean, he got married right before all this happened, and I never did know, but Billy was he and Joe are real good people. And when he wrote these songs about me and stuff, I forgot where we used to go, but the bands I really thought a lot of, and they were just, you never find one around in these places to do a big show. And they would all go up to out to the Veterans Hospital with us every Sunday.
Being so close there to the Adolphus, did you ever go over to the Burgundy Room or the King's Club? So you would have known a lot of the people over there. Did you know Stormy Meadows?
No.
I asked you the other night about someone who worked at the Carousel named Margie Norman, or My Little Margie, according to Andrew Armstrong, and you didn't remember. Would this help you? Her name was Marjorie Ruth Ethier, and she married Harold Ritchie, and she was a waitress at...
Was he a bartender?
I'm not sure about that.
It's the one I'm thinking about. He was a bartender.
But now, does that help you?
Well, it's just kind of familiar with that.
I'll try to get some of these documents together and see if they...
Or either that, it was Tommy Angel that married a bartender from there. I mean, one of them.
But I've asked you before about Mickey Ryan, the man who was a friend of Jones, and Nikki Joy.
Oh yeah.
You don't happen to know her real name?
Maxine Williams.
Maxine Williams. All right. And she was married to Corky Graves.
No, she's married to Butch Stockham.
Well, now, who was Corky?
She went with Corky Graves for a long time, then they broke up and he married Chris Cope. And then Butch was Chris Cope's boyfriend and he married Nikki. So
Butch, what was that name?
Stockham. He's a big police character. He's pretty well known in Dallas. Yeah. And she married him, and then Corky went and married Chris, so they just...
Now, Corky was a narcotics agent.
State narcotics agents.
All right, and he is now deceased.
Yes.
And you said Nikki lived in Carrollton.
Somewhere in Carrollton, yes.
And is she still married to Butch Stone?
No.
All right, and what...
I talked to her because her daughter, Angela, that we'd been with since she first had her, she got married and all this, and Nikki came to see me, and she looked just great. She's been a cashier at clubs.
Well, now, she was an exotic dancer,
too.
Oh,
Barney's #1. First one to ever had the implant. Surgery.
First implant among the girls that you knew.
Among the girls, that's right.
For heaven's
So
sake.
she had to go to California to get it because it was just coming out. It was that hard stuff, you know, it wasn't. But, yeah.
Right, now, what about Bubbles Cash? Do you remember her?
I know her
She
real
never
well.
worked at the Carousel, but she
No.
was probably glad with Pappy.
Well, I met Bubbles. She's a beautiful girl, and she always wanted to be thin so she wouldn't eat for a couple of weeks, you know? And that's why she fainted before she went on the show.
Did she do a show at the Carousel?
No, at the Colony Club,
Oh,
an amateur. So she only stayed on the amateur for a long time. And Pappy, she was more or less Pappy's girl. And after a while, Nick and I used to model over at some of the country clubs, Neiman Marcus clothes. And so Pappy wanted to bring her one night. And Nick got a little mad at her and wanted to put her out on the highway, but I wouldn't let her. But Bubbles then started going out to Cotton Bowl. And then mini skirts.
Yeah.
You remember back then?
Yes, I do.
Well, she did all that publicity. And then her sister is a very dear friend of mine that works at a bank. And I called her and asked her about Bubbles because I hadn't seen her since we had Thanksgiving about 4 years ago together. And she's working off of Webb Chapels at a pawn shop. And I thought I might call her and see how she's doing. She's very heavy now. Very big, so I don't
Who
know.
is her sister? Can you remember the name?
Yeah, Deanie.
What?
Her name's Dean.
Dean?
Dean Wayne.
Wayne? All right. Bringing up the pawn shop. Do you remember a man named Pate? P-A-T-E?
David Lee Pate?
No. This man had a pawn shop. He was with KVOX and was fired the night of the assassination. He thought he'd done such absolutely fantastic work, and they fired him that night. Dave, what was Pate's first name? P-A-T. What?
I don't remember.
Okay, I'll go and find out in a minute.
Sam,
Sam Pate.
The name's
Sam Pate.
Little
if you didn't
man.
ask me, I'd know.
Is he a little Jewish man?
No, he's very tall. He is not Jewish. His father-in-law was Jewish. But he had a pawn shop right up here on the Lebanon. I don't think it's there. I bet anything that it's moved on out. But I'd like to find out if she works for Sam Pate. What about Toy Rebel? Oh, well, one more thing. Denny Wayne, do you remember which bank she worked?
Well,
We're
no,
not-
I really don't, but I could find out.
Now, Toy Rebel, what about
Oh,
her?
she's a knockout girl.
Where is she now?
Having a heart from Toy involved. When I saw Nikki, she said Toy was doing real well. She's got her daughter grown.
She's working in
And she,
something
you know,
else.
she went with Doug Naylor, the head of the state narcotics guy.
With
For
Doug
years, Naylor, he was the head of overall the state narcotics. And I think he passed away. I don't know if they ever married before he died, or if he just moved over from Austin and moved up here with her and then died. I don't know.
Okay. What about Sue Bailey?
Well, Sue was always my best pal.
Well, now, one other thing about Toy Rebel, something about that name does not sound just exactly like one's christened name. Can you remember her real name?
No.
Okay. But Sue Bailey sounds like somebody's
Sue's
name.
her real name.
Was she a dancer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I took her on the road with me nearly everywhere I went.
Do you know where she is now?
No, I haven't seen Sue, but I'm sure I could, find her. I just had to look for her. But when we first started out in the business, we traveled together, and that's when I started going to mock event. I was telling you, in St. Louis,
Which mafia man in St. Louis?
his name was Joe Speaker.
Oh, yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, he owned the Ford Plaza Hotel. And I went with him for quite a while, and so Sue didn't like what they were doing to her at the club. She told him to talk to me that I went with the boss, so she, got away with a lot.
What about Tony Angel?
Tony Angel,
Uh-huh.
she married, I think, the barkeeper at the Carousel. She took off. She lived in the same apartment house I did, but she left and I never seen her again. She's a real tall, sultry blonde. And I have never seen her since then.
What is Joe Speaker doing now? Do you know?
No, I hadn't heard from him since he wanted to go to Colorado with me 1,000 years ago and I didn't show up.
There was a policeman who was a friend. In fact, Harry Olson, when he and Joyce, his first wife, or I presume it was his first wife, when they split up, he moved in right down here on Theater Lane with Bobby Joe Dale, another policeman.
Joe Dale, I know, but he's kind of Donberg's right-hand man. Kind of like Buddy Walters and Bill Decker.
Bobby Joe Dale, if I'm not mistaken, was head of the police association for a while. But I have many problems with Bobby Joe Dale's testimony. Many problems. I'd like to talk to him.
Yeah.
Now, I have asked you about this man before, and you came up with some things that I had never heard of about him. And the Warren Commission questioned several of the dancers about this man. In fact, one of them was Tammy True, and they asked her what she knew about Banker's Drugs. The Banker's Drugstore is supposed to be down there on Irby and Old Commerce. And it was owned by Joe Slayton.
I know Joe Slayton. I worked with him when I was 18. He owned the Zala Bandbox Bar. And then he owned the Half Shell, but he and Zala had split up because Joe had I don't know if I should say this, he's dead, he probably wouldn't care. He had a problem with sex or something, and his wife, they just didn't get together with it. So they got a divorce, and she still lives in Dallas.
Zala, do you know if she's married again?
Yeah, she's old.
Well, I mean, just because we're old doesn't mean we're
the guy she runs around with, no.
Well, what was her last name? Did she go by Slayton or by some other name?
Wells. W-E-L-L-S, Wells, Style Wells.
Oh, still in that.
And she worked as a waitress for Jack Ruby too, and somebody didn't applaud for me, she hit him on the head with a tray.
I heard that the girls could get rather...
Yeah.
Testy.
Then we go down to Half Shell and pull guns on Joe. But Joe he always called me his little star, and he knew I always liked to go to church, and he asked me, would you say a little prayer for me? And I'd say, yes, sir, I will. But I'll tell you what, he was a nice man. But he and Zala could get some dirty words out of each other.
All right, you remember Tony Turner?
Very well.
And she had a rather strange act.
Oh, yeah. She always come in at the Comedy Club, and she'd raise her cane and do her shows, and she decided to get into the snake business. So we were all called to her house, Wally and us, and the snakes were blue, and they were crawling out of her toilet paper, and in the bathtub, I guess they liked the bathtub, but you didn't dare reach around for your toilet paper, there their head was. And she's supposed to keep them in the garbage can. And this went all on the news and the paper where she went to work for Jack with the snakes because they didn't want them crawling around upstairs. And they weren't supposed to be poisoned, but she'd lay there and they'd crawl up here. Finally, the girls, they'd get out, and she'd laugh. So they had to let her go. I don't think Jack liked the snakes.
And you said blue, snake,
Blue.
the color of blue?
Blue.
Natural, they weren't natural.
Huh?
Natural blue.
I don't know. All I know is the blue snakes. And I did not talk to them snakes, and I was make sure they were in that bag when she got there.
Do you remember what her real name was? Or?
I used to.
You hadn't heard from her?
The last time I saw her, she was at the state fair. I didn't hardly recognize her. I don't know how many times she's been married now, but she still had kids in her arms.
Oh,
So.
Now, I'm going to leave the dancers for just a moment and come to something else that I wanted to ask you about. Your present husband, or you have been married since Wally died to another man, Frank Messerow, Paul Messerow. And you, what is the status of that marriage? Was it a good marriage for a while?
Well, it was for a while, and this is the way I believe. I'm just going to say what I think. I accidentally shot him one time when he was beating me when we first got married. And both legs. Well, I made sure I did enough work, got enough doctors where he didn't lose his legs, which he knew was an accident and I did. But his mother kind of put a curse on me then. I mean, 18 years of, that's when you drank, you didn't say well, I'm gonna go pray or anything because you're overboard. We don't talk about that in here and all that. And if he didn't come and visit her, she'd make him cry. And if he did, they'd show me movies of his first wife, you know. We get to sit and watch movies. So, I mean, for years, and then we had a kid. We had a nice home, a child. He had a good job. I did all this to build him up. And then I learned to love him. But now, he's, they say he's a pitiful thing. I haven't seen him.
Well, that's terrible.
He lives with other women and stuff, you know, and I'm not ready for all that. I've got a new life to live.
Do you remember Earl Norman?
Yes, comedian.
Yes. And how long would you say he worked for Jack?
Oh, wow. How long ever they got to stay after Jack went to jail? I don't know how long they kept the club open. They just made their own show up there.
Do you remember Ralph Paul from the club out at, it was kind of a barbecue stand or something out at Arlington? Ralph Paul, he and Joe Slayton and Ruby were kind of partners.
Yeah, Ralph Paul, yeah. When he kind of a Jewish man.
Yeah, well, he was from Russia.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember him.
Oh, what did you know anything about him?
No, he was nice to me. If anybody really mean to me, I really remembered it, but usually I didn't have too many enemies except now Tammy True was a little jealous of me at times, but I loved her anyway.
And y'all got along fine now.
Oh yeah. It's a laugh now, you know.
Is Troy Phillips still alive? Candy Barr's ex-husband. And I understand Candy is down in Brownwood, Texas, where I think she's a dear friend of Ben Barnes, the ex-lieutenant governor, in his way. How close were you to Tony Zoffi, the writer?
Very close, because Wally was very close to him. And when he wrote here in Dallas, he wrote us about 9 years and get me TV parts and stuff. And then when he went to Las Vegas, was when they just kept saying, she's not going to live tonight. He'd call me on the phone and tell me all these things about get up and walk and do like he used to do. And then Dave Gardner. I had a suite, and all the nurses that night took off to go see Dave Gardner at SMU. And in my suite was Dave Gardner. And Dave Gardner would stand on his head and say, that's what he'd want me to do, you know. He impressed my grandmother very well. Oh, and then Peggy Steele was downstairs, and the doctor, the lady, I'll never forget what she said. The head nurse called my doctor and said the whole hospital was coming apart at 12 o'clock. And he said, what do you want him to do? The head nurse walked up to Peggy Steele, and she was always fun, and she'd say anything. Asked her, said, what do you do for a living? And she said, I'm a whore. Peggy Steele said that? Just because she's acting so smart, you know, before she could say anything.
Of course,
it's a joke, yeah.
Of course, we've got to remember that Peggy had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah. Well, this is before. She really wasn't. That's what she said. She had a day. She's waiting on Dave Gardner.
I wanted to ask you about the TV parts that things. What did you do on TV that Tony Zoffi helped you?
Well, like I was on there with the boxing cats.
Oh.
Yeah, the boxing cats, and then those chimpanzee squabbles that traveled everywhere.
Dressed in dresses and get on
there was marquee chimps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, them and
could we, I presume that some of the TV stations might still have cuts of them. The marquee chimps.
Yeah, and either Don Saffron or Tony Zoffi would know. Now, Don was real close friends with us, too.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about something that is very important. Do you remember Jack's twist boards?
No, I heard them.
Okay. Well, then there's no need in going into the twist boards.
Yeah, I had heard of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tammy True demonstrated the twist boards. Of course, that twist board episode is such a strange one because Richard Adams was president of Twist Boards, and the company that manufactured twist boards. Jack Ruby handled them. Richard, may I digress and put
Sure,
this in so
yes.
that we'll remember it now. Richard Adams lived on Dorothy Lane, and I'll get this wrong, but say 3413 Dorothy Lane in Fort Worth for many years. He was living there at the time, 63. Peter Paul Gregory, a Russian immigrant and a dear friend of Oswald's and Marina's and Mrs. DeMarenschil. He lived next door at 3415 on Dorothy Lane, and yet I never could understand why they were not asked. Do you know of any way that Jack could have met Oswald to Peter Paul Gregory? I think they should have been asked these questions. I'd like to ask Penny Crew sometime. There was a young man who moved in with Jack Ruby named Tommy. He was about 25 years old, right toward the end of 1963. Did you ever know Tommy?
No, no, George.
All right, are you familiar with the cellar in Fort Worth?
Yes.
That's Pat Kirkwood.
Yeah, we go in after hours and lay down and drink.
Right.
Yeah. Just get your cushion and lay down.
All right, now, have you ever heard the story, and it is not, I presume, since they admitted it, so many of the Secret Service were in the cellar that night, the night before the assassination.
Yeah, I don't remember none of that.
You wouldn't know
there.
that, but you did know Pat Kirkwood and those people. Did you know anything about a place called the 312 Club in Fort Worth, Lancaster? What about Tom Howard, a lawyer? He was a friend of Jack Ruby's. He was the first one who rushed down there. He was married, he was a lawyer, and he was married to a woman named Vivian Arnold.
A blonde-headed girl?
I have never seen her. I am not certain. I have heard that she was the girlfriend of a man called Chicken Louie, and she shot him. She's the one.
All right. I helped deliver her baby when I was a nurse at St. Paul. The girl, Johnny Faye Shumway, I was telling you, we were like sisters. Well, Chicken Louie was in love with her, and we used to go down there, and Victor Ballas lived down the street from me. Well, he was Chicken Louie's bodyguard. And so Johnny Faye had left or something. We took his white Cadillac or something. And the next thing we knew, this little girl that was in love and pregnant by him come in and shot him. Then when she went to have the baby, they wanted to really kill her. His people did. But she had that baby. It's premature, and I hadn't heard from him since. But
all right, Tom Howard later married her, and I have heard that she ran oh my goodness, in my day we would have called it a house of ill repute for Tom Howard. Right, for Tom Howard. And she's the one who had murdered Chicken Louie.
oh, yeah, she shot him.
She did kill him.
She sure did.
Oh yeah. Chicken Louie was the one out there, at Lakewood, the big.
Victor Ballas, his bodyguard, owns Victor's. I went with Victor for a long time. He was my neighbor.
Owns Victor's. Where is it?
Downtown. The Purple Orchid, Victor's Lanterns, and all them places. All those dancers used to go in there all the time. Yeah. He married one of my girlfriends. Yeah. But anyway, he was Chicken Louie's bodyguard out here at Lakewood. That's the chalet.
Chalet, that's it. You're
And we'd go driving that white Cadillac everywhere. But he was in love with my girlfriend, Johnny Faye.
Well, now Howard Bobbitt, how did you meet him?
Well, I was 3 years old, and I was outside playing. I saw him on the porch, and I brought him home, and he'd been our family nearly till the day he died.
Which Bobbitts was he related to? Lyndon Johnson had a sister named Bobbitt.
No, his people was from McKinney, I believe. He had a brother named, his was Howard Bobbitt, and he had one brother, I forgot his name, and 3 sisters, and I believe they're all dead. But, he'd help do the dishes, and he'd see actors and all this stuff, and if I went out and helped him get jobs and take his money out of his shoes when I got home. So, we lived a pretty rough life then, so Howard really was good to us. So he's always been part of our family.
did you ever hear of a woman attorney here who was named Barbara Wells, and she had a wooden leg?
Yes, and she's kind of funny.
When you say homosexual, yes. I think that's an acceptable word today. We don't run from it, honey.
Yeah, I've seen her, and one time I was doing jury duty, and I said, I'm not up for this, so all the judges would be looking at me going, when they're trying to get me to be on the jury, I'm nervous, you know. I said, Judge Harris, what are you laughing about? If that woman only knew who you was sitting next to you, he said, I'd throw my hands up laughing. so then we're back up and stuff, and I'm a nurse.
Pixie Lynn, or Helen K. Smith, claimed to have given a party at which both Jack Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald were present.
No, not true.
You don't think she
No.
said that? That is in volume 26, page
she
183.
That didn't happen because Helen Smith at the time was living down in Houston.
On Chimney Rock.
Jack didn't go to parties too much. When he left at night and got his dogs and put that money in the trunk of his car, I mean, either he went home or we all went to eat or something. No, I'll tell that to her face. No, she did not.
Now, there were other people who claimed that at that same party was Barbara Wells, this woman attorney. We have never been able to prove any.
Well, she might have been there for the reason Helen was there, you know.
Well, what would you say? Did Helen have the same problem?
Yes. So, you know, I don't know what Jack would have been doing with them, you know.
Have you heard about a party on Inwood Road where Genovese, his nephew, was attending that party, and Frank, what was that Frank's name, the one who was married to Miss Wade at the modeling school? Friend of Esau. All right, but have you heard of any party where Genovese's nephew attended a party out here on Inwood, and I can't remember Frank.
I owned a club on Inwood and Lover's Lane called the Dollhouse.
Well, this was right about the time, just before, it was a few nights before the assassination.
Oh, I didn't own it then. No, I didn't. The town pump was about all we made, and we knew the people that owned it, and we were going to go to a nice place, and I think we had a piano bar, and then we'd go see them and Lucille Cunningham, and then, but no, that's about all. Now, I know a lot of cagey people that were my very dear friends, died off from alcohol, that knew all them people around in there.
Did you have occasion to meet very many FBI men? I mean, I know you were very afraid of them early,
Very.
but later, did you get friendly with them?
Yeah, I made with Charlie, I was telling you.
Charlie Brown.
He and I were very close friends, but I believe he's dead now, isn't he?
Oh, I think he is, yes.
Yeah, because he was kind of seen after me when they were after me before, and I mean, I was so nervous, I didn't know what to do, and some of the Dallas police had to tell this guy to kind of leave me alone, you know, because there were so many lights going around then, you know, and I had an FBI man that lived around the corner from me, but he didn't know me as far as I knew, but
right downstairs under the Carousel Club was a loan company, some kind of little.
yeah, it was the cleaners was at the Colony Club.
But right under the Carousel was something like Friendly Finance, or that wasn't
No, right from the Carousel was the parking lot. Now, AIDS Colony Club, they had it's a bar now, but it used to be a cleaners years and years ago. What they call them, top cleaners or something, where you could take your laundry, big top, or that was years ago.
The 1312, I believe it was 1312 and a half, Commerce was upstairs. You went up these steps, and this is but down under it was a finance company. and a man named Igor Vaganov, a Russian boy from Pennsylvania, came.
Did you go in the same door you go in when you went in the carousel?
No, you went
Oh.
upstairs to go to the carousel, but if you went over here,
Oh,
there's a door to the,
side.
to the ground floor.
Oh, okay, no, I never went there.
Never did.
No, but I remember there was a place under the Colony Club. You went in here and it was just like, it was under the stairs and it was a cleaners. But I believe, I don't know what they were made out of, that little old club or something.
All right, I have one more thing before I just let you just tell us whatever you feel like telling us. And that is, have you ever heard of a woman named Rose Sheremy?
No.
This woman claimed to have been a narcotics runner for Jack Ruby. She was run over or dumped from a car over in Louisiana on November the 20th of 1963. And that night, according to the doctors in the hospital, and we have them also somewhere, I don't have it, but on tape we have them, they took her to the Eunice, Louisiana hospital, and the doctors claimed that she said, they're going to kill Kennedy. They're going to kill Kennedy. A Mrs. Blanche Kreischer, Mrs. Armour E. Kreischer, and the name is Kreischcher, gave an affidavit. She was a nurse in the hospital. Two doctors claimed she gave this statement on the 20th of November. Then after that, she was crazy, they said, and she was thrown to this moving car in Eunice, Louisiana, and she told the hospital attendants that she said that Jack Ruby was planning to assassinate him, but I don't believe that when I have seen the actual affidavits, and I don't think she said that. She did claim she had been, quote, pushing narcotics for Jack Ruby. And she was killed by being run over by a car at Big Sandy on September 4th, 1965. And you've never heard any of it.
Well, I'll say this. Jack didn't seem to have enough money to be a pusher. Plus, my husband was on drugs. And him and Jack being so close, I'm sure he could have gotten them from Jack if he's had them. But he always used a doctor. Jack was a health freak. And some of the band, and I won't call their names, even I took wake-up sleeping pills sometimes, you know. But most everybody was on a little drugs, you know, one time or other, alcohol or drugs, and none of those people know anything about it that I know of. And just like, you know, Wally nearly died from it, you know, I mean, he was bad. And as close as he was to Jack, I'm sure that Jack would have sold it to him if he was. Jack was a pure health. I mean, he ate healthy foods and he worked out and everything.
He never smoked in his life.
No.
He did not drink.
No, he didn't smoke. He's a health freak.
I've heard that.
Yes.
I know he liked pure ice cream.
Mhm,
We
yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
He wanted made with pure cream. He didn't want any synthetics in his ice cream.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, I
he made
cooked
that
for him.
home.
I know he was. But
So it's nothing, I mean, for a man who lived that way, and he was a young man. I mean,
Yeah.
he gets younger all the time.
see, his whole life was that club. He had dreamed of that club, even from the time he had the Vegas club, and then that's all he ever wanted was one of those clubs. He's the only man that would buck against Barney and Weinstein and put a place in. Nobody else had the guts to do it. I mean, they thought they'd really be put out, but he did it, and he got the amateur show going over there too. So I'm sure in all
He
this
seems to have
time that
been
we would have known.
so healthy, so extremely healthy, right to even after his trial, and he's asked for a retrial, and he had just been granted a motion for a new trial. It was granted in Wichita Falls, change of venue. I have the papers, an actual certified copy of them. Just before he died, and he was so healthy, and then all of a sudden, now there is a form of leukemia that can take people in a matter of 6 weeks, but he didn't have leukemia. And there's nothing incongruous or unusual to you about his suddenly, just before he had a new trial.
No, Sheriff Decker was wonderful to Jack.
I'm not
And I don't
trying
think
to say,
that anything cagey went on up there by then.
I'm not saying that Sheriff
Didn't he die
Decker.
from a blood clot hit his brain or something? Didn't the little Chinese doctor was out Parkinson is what he died
I
from?
think the autopsy report on Jack Ruby said he had just covered with cancer, and yet,
I hadn't heard he had cancer, but I thought he died from a
I think
blood
the clot
clot.
probably killed him from what they said, but he was cancerous.
but
Yeah.
this is just such a, it is bad. I think, I'm not any medical person at all, but I have had a malignancy, and once you have been afflicted with anything, you tend to read all about it, or I do, I know everything I can. And I do know that there's one form, there are two forms of leukemia. One you can live forever with if you take proper care of it, and the other one can get you in 5-6 weeks. But to just suddenly be a healthy person and then suddenly just develop cancer all over your body is for someone particularly who did live a healthy, good life.
Well, the only thing I can think of,
And I do not believe, never would I believe Bill Decker
well,
did.
the times when I go up and sit with Jack and talk to him, he wasn't eating right. He was grieving. It's like like I ate this wrong wild dog. It's like wild. And then you put him in a little cage. And you just started. He just physically was abusing himself, just mentally and everything.
Shari, it is my impression, and I've never visited inside a jail in my life, but not a jail, but I have been led to believe that Bill Decker did everything in the world for him.
He did. He really did.
And
He even took that head massage that Jack always used on his head. That was all in his office. And when his sister would come and get him upset, then he'd call me after a while. He wouldn't be in down to come and sit and calm him down. He'd try to kill himself, choke himself with the cord from the light bulb and all this. And Bill, he was so sweet about asking me to come down. He said, "I know you're tired, but somebody has got to settle him down."
They had a TV there for
That's
him.
right, but when
And
he come up there, he'd go nuts.
He didn't have to wear prison clothes.
No.
He didn't have to.
But I don't know what floor he was on, because when I went to visit him, they brought him off of an elevator, and we sat on stools. And he thought they had killed all the Jews. That's when I knew and then at another time, he wanted me to quit the theater lounge and go to the orchid shop and get a cashier's job. And I thought, my, I might end up owning that. Well, I'm glad I didn't quit, because he didn't know it. It was just, he thought all the Jews were dead, and there just wasn't anybody getting through to
What
him.
time period was this? Do you remember?
I don't know, it'd be times from Wally. I really don't know that. I'm sure they
Probably
got records.
66, probably
Yeah, they probably got
1966. He
records.
died January 3rd of 67.
Well, you got the clippings for me and Maddox and Sheriff Decker were with him,
Yes.
But, I don't know, like tension stuff can cause ulcers. I had stomach cancer real bad, but mine was just, I guess, nobody knows what caused it, I guess, because I've always been tense and nervous and crazy. I think crazy people might get cancer.
You seem to me to be pretty.
Yeah, but I did have, my pancreas, everything.
Can you think of anything, and we had questioned you till 3 o'clock in the morning the other night, and then here we are again bothering you. Have you gone away from us night before last, or have you wondered why they didn't ask me about this? There's nothing that you can think of that you have.
The only thing I always said I wanted to say something nice about Jack, about every morning he'd get us up on Sunday morning, instead of church we went to the Veterans Hospital and entertained every Sunday morning, and then I go cook for everybody, and then we go back to work that
The one
night.
out at Lancaster, Lisbon,
That's
is
right.
where you would go.
Yes.
What kind of shows would you put on?
We're kind of like vaudeville. Charleston, Wally tell his jokes, and Joe Garcia, and then played their band there, and tap dancing, all kinds of.
About
always
how
out
many
dancing.
about how many were in the group who would go?
Probably about 10.
And over what period of time?
I don't remember because we went for a long time. I'm sure they got records of that, yeah, because we went, and the expressions on those people's face, you couldn't have bought it, you know. And that thrilled Jack, all right? Then when he had Wally walking that 50-mile John F. Kennedy hike, he drove along and fed him sandwiches on the way for 50 miles.
Now, when was this? See, I
It
don't
was
recall
in that-
that.
I
Do
remember
you?
that.
I've got some clippings I'll show you.
Okay.
Yeah, he walked from Terrell Inn to Look 12. I was telling my mother, I think I ought to call an ambulance. But Wally's feet were swelling about that big. But I got pictures of him all over with, yes, the nearest people know about it because they were supposed to walk it with him. And they all flaked out. He's the only one. And that was at John F. Kennedy Hill, 50-mile hike. And Jack and Wally did it. Now, Jack really loved the Kennedys. My husband loved the Kennedys. I mean, when he called me and said, I hope you damn Southerners are happy, you know, that we killed the best man that ever was, but, you know, I didn't know what he was talking about. But, I mean, so I know if he loved him that much, if he thought Jack didn't, and I know Wally is so smart. If one little thing had been wrong with Jack, he would have known, and he told me everything. You know, like, don't tell your wife, okay, yeah, you know.
Do you recall a woman who came to Jack and had been with him, well, at some time? Nancy Perrin Rich. Nancy Perrin. Now, she was, I mean, by her own admission, an informer for various police departments and sheriffs in Sacramento, and she came here just before the assassination. Her husband, Robert Lee Perrin, had a very strange death in New Orleans. You know, the killing himself, it was a very unusual death in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And she had worked for Jack, and we know that she did.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
What, did she, was she a dancer or what?
no, I think she claimed to be kind of like Juanita Buchanan, O.C. Nell's girlfriend. I think she was a bookkeeper.
Oh.
Now, I believe Juanita Buchanan just died down in Florida. You know, she was O.C. Nell's, the old, you know, how to make a million, or I'm going to make another million, or something, the boxcars, and I think, you know, O.C. Nell's. Oh, well, Nell's, you're right, oh, well, Nell's.
Yeah,
All right, do you remember Juanita Buchanan?
The name's familiar, but I don't remember.
She had worked as a bookkeeper for Jack. Do you remember his, he called her his secretary. She was up at the White Plaza, the big red-haired woman who was the public stenographer. What was her name? Oh, my brain's gone. I can't remember anything.
Well, did you say she worked at the club?
No, she was, he called her his secretary, but she was a public stenographer in the lobby of the White Plaza Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a big, fine-looking, red-haired woman, wore furs and
No, but you know what? He went with that one woman for years and years, and I've never seen him with her.
well, that was Mrs. Alice Nichols.
Well, and she just said she is his girlfriend, but I never seen her with
Well,
him.
she was a very fine woman.
Yeah, that's what I always
testified
heard.
before the Warren Commission, and she was secretary to one of the vice presidents of Southwestern Line. And
But they said she went with him for years.
yeah, she thought he was the greatest thing in the world.
But he never took her with us anywhere, so. But I know I met her that one time, and she was very nice.
Well, nothing ever surprises me, but some of my friends out here in Highland Park were just astounded when they found out who had been his girlfriend all this time. You know, what in the world was this woman doing, you know? And I can see that, you know, if he was nice to her.
Oh, yeah, Jack. Yeah, Jack, I mean, he was a bear when he was mad. Just like I told that man on the news, Mr. Boone. He was, I mean, when he's calm, he just, if he knocks some, he hit a man one time, and his watch didn't come off. Yes. Well, the next week we go up there, Jack just faded him away, patting him, good boy. That's the way he did. I mean, he had to get that out of him, because that was a spirit that he had in him, and it was just like he didn't know what he was doing. That's why Wallace said when he saw Jack kill Oswald, he said, Shari, can you remember the times that I had gone in that office and cussed him out? And I said, yeah. And he said, all the time he had that gun. You know, and he said, and Wally did, when Jackie jumped on him, Wally get right back on, and that's how they stayed friends. When Wally was teasing me, he said, can you imagine? Because he'd go in there and get our checks. See, I never picked up any of my checks. Wally did them too.
Until the assassination, did you have any idea that his real name was Rubenstein?
No. But I knew he was Jewish, but I never did, it bothered me.
Well, of course not, but I was just asking if you knew that. What kind of relationship did you think he and Eva Graham, his sister, had?
Well, not a very good one. Eve's all right, and she's never done much for me. She's always cashier in these places. Then we had to get rid of her at Carousel. I mean, but like, she'd go down there, and when Sheriff Decker would bring me to go see Jack, I'd always say, no film, and I'll be there. Well, she'd be showing me down the hall, see this purse, cost $20 50 years ago, and they think we're rich, and that's what she's telling all the cameramen. Well, she get up there, Jack, I mean, look, here he is in jail, and he don't care about her $20 purse that she's had 50 years. You know, and that's what but she was a wild nut, just like Miss Oswald. You know, they said she was, I never did meet her.
Mrs. Oswald was a very, very brilliant woman.
Well, I think
very
that,
difficult, but very smart.
I know, if they said they had problems.
Did you ever meet Joe Tannehill, the lawyer who one of the lawyers who represented? He was from Jasper, Texas, Joe Tannehill.
No.
What about Phil Burleson?
Yes,
Had you known Phil Burleson prior to the assassination?
Well, I knew him not to walk up and say, hi, Phil. But, you know, everybody, you know, knew who he was.
Did you ever meet Melvin Belline?
No, but Wally did. All I ever found out, I think they made Kerry Mason movies out of his library. I'd seen him a lot on the TV during the trials. But there's so many lawyers, you know, that come and then they quit. They couldn't get this rider jacket out. And, you know, if it'd been me, I probably got old racehorse. What's his face?
I wouldn't have, believe me.
After that day,
I would too. Let me ask you this. You were working at the Colony Club. That was Abe Weinstein's Colony Club. You had started Weinstein. Good. You had started with Barney Weinstein at the Theater Lounge, and then at the time of the assassination, you'd been back and forth, but you were working at the Colony Club. I'm sorry, you were working at the Carousel, but you ran across two.
Barney,
the first one,
my manager.
Your friend. Okay. What did he advise you to do?
Get my wardrobe and get right there. Because Barney, I don't care what anybody says, he was like a father does. I mean, if somebody wanted to take us to Chicago, Calumet City, or New York, no, they want girls to drink and all that bad stuff. You're not going. So naturally, we all felt Barney's going to take care of us. So, but anyway, I got all my wardrobe and everything was there. Now, Barney never come to town on Sunday nights. There he sat with 2 million briefcases, and I was fixing to turn around and walk back out. He called me up there. I said, I thought you told me. He said, they're real nice, Shari, and they just want to ask you a few questions. That was brand new. So we go upstairs into the private club, and they said, don't be nervous. We're going to have a couple of drinks, and then we'll talk to you after your show. And I said, if you thought I was freezing out there, I wasn't. It was nerves, you know. So they were very nice and asked me a few questions, and they knew I was real scared. And if I ever need them, call them. So Mr. Brown and I become, you know, friends.
You never did meet Gordon Shanklin.
I'm not. Was he at FBI?
He was the head of it.
Well, a lot of them that first night went home with Wally flew back in. And this girl that called me said she went home with us, but nobody but FBI.
You didn't find her name.
I bet I will. Now, yeah, I told you what she wanted to do. That I don't think is right, but I didn't talk to you about it. But no, just the FBI and that one Houston Chronicle, because we didn't want no newspaper people. And you know, they kind of respected us for that, because most everybody's get my picture, you know.
Yeah.
But this guy, I said, I'm sorry I forgot your name. He said, I'm Mr. So-and-so from the Houston Chronicle. So there was nobody but the FBI, and I don't know how many. There was They were from all over. I made coffee all night while they talked to them.
Now, on the 22nd of November, at 12:30 that day, you were working for the carousel, but you weren't at work. Where were you?
I was home,
How did
piled
you?
up in bed, watching TV, when Jack walked out and he shot him.
No, well, now, wait a minute, this is 2 days later.
Oh,
But 2 days before, I'm going to start with that if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
On Friday, when Kennedy was killed, how
Oh.
did you hear? Where were you and how did you
I
hear?
was asleep and Wally called me about killing the best man. You dumb Southerners killed the best man that ever lived. I'm saying, I was asleep, I don't know what you're talking about. Cut the TV on. Well, did, and we all just started running. I think I went to St. Bernard's. I mean, housewives with their aprons, people were running crazy and going to all the churches. I mean, you just couldn't imagine nothing else to do at a time
Were
like
you
that.
going to the club that night? Did you?
Well, I was supposed to.
And what happened?
Well, Wally just told me to stay in until he got there, and then we went, he went somewhere, left me with Barney.
Now, wait a minute. No, honey.
Before he was
On
assassinated.
Friday,
Okay, Wally was in Oklahoma.
Okay, when Kennedy was assassinated,
Yeah.
while he was in Oklahoma,
Yes, right.
you had no idea that Jack Ruby would play any
No,
part in
no.
this? Not at all.
No, no.
Right.
I mean, when he walked in, everybody said, how'd he get there? And I said, because there were policemen in Dallas lets him in all the time. They come to the club. It didn't surprise me one bit how he got in there. But those dogs, first thing I asked was, did he have policemen with him? Yes. I said, he did not go in there and kill nobody. Them dogs was that man's whole life.
When you said Lisa, I thought Sheba was.
She was one, but I think one of them died or something. He had two, yeah.
That day at 12:30, you were asleep, and Wally Winston called you from Oklahoma and said he hoped that you were satisfied.
Yeah.
Okay, then what time did you get ready to go to the club that night to go to work? That's a Friday night and should have been.
Well, see, we didn't open that night. None of the clubs did.
How did you know that you weren't going to open?
Well, I don't know unless somebody on the show called me or, I'm sure Jack said call somebody because all the clubs were closed. They had bricks on the door because of the assassination. Is this before the assassination?
No, you're right. This is the
all
night
the
of the
clubs
assassination.
closed up. And that part, in fact, I think most of town did.
That's probably true. When did you see Jack Ruby next?
In the TV.
What did you do on Saturday and Saturday night?
I don't know, unless I see it.
Wally came back from Oklahoma City?
Yes, but he came back on Sunday morning.
Well, now, I'm getting off.
Yeah,
He
Sunday
had been in
afternoon.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and then he flew to Florida? Where'd you
No, he died in Florida.
You died
Well, now, you said he had to fly home from somewhere.
From Oklahoma.
Oh, so he was in Oklahoma.
Yeah, him and
from-
Tammy True, I believe, was working down there. And he called me and said this, I guess after Jack shot him, but anyway, somebody had gone through his room, all his belongings and everything. He said, don't move, you stay right where you're at, and I'll be home. He said, Shari, this is big. He said, my room has been completely ransacked.
in Oklahoma.
And his motel room, yeah. So he got the first plane and he was here. So when he got here, I just, let him, he always took care of everything.
When did he come
I guess sometime
in?
early
The next day?
Sunday, on that same Sunday, Jack shot him.
Well, had Jack already shot him before he got here?
That's when he called me and told me that I guess he went to while he'd get up and go to the club. I stayed home all day because usually I had a son going to school and work to do and everything, or he'd go play golf or something. But he came back to his room and he'd been ransacked. So he knew that people were really going to be on us. So he just got a plane and flew home. And that's when the FBI and all the people came to our place. But there was no other entertainers there with us.
So the night, on Sunday night, now the clubs were opening again by Sunday night.
That Sunday night, yeah.
And that's when you grabbed everything and you ran over to Barney. Now Barney or Abe. Barney was theater lounge and Abe was
Barney was my
comedy club.
manager.
Okay. And when you had started
Abe
with
was my
them,
friend, Barney was my mother.
when you had started with them years ago, when you were just a girl, they were not speaking. They were not very
That's
friendly.
right.
And the two brothers got back and,
Oh, yes.
and was Pappy Dolson already sort of in
No,
the
he
picture?
had
at
been
that
with
time?
Abe, when he first opened, it used to be Pappy's and Abe's Comedy
Yeah.
Club. Well, Abe got it, and Pappy was out. So I never had an agent, because I always had Barney. I could work for him too anyway. But Jack Cole was always, Cindy
Jack
Emmer's,
Cole.
yeah, Cindy Emmer's ex-husband, was always our agent if we needed one. And then Pappy went in with Jack, and before you knew it, Jack was gone and Pappy had it. So,
I don't know.
but see, he wasn't close to Barney then, because sometimes we let Pappy go with us, me and Nicky or some of us, but he never got any jobs for us. I mean, he's a dirty old man as far as I'm concerned. I didn't want any dealings with him because of things that I saw, and he'd cut you throat in a minute, for a nickel. So, but he knew how I felt, so I'm not saying anything.
Oh, I have heard that the clubs that used exotic dancers all over the United States used Barney Weinstein
The good ones.
to get their girls, because
right.
he when he trained them, they were really
That's right.
very
See,
good.
I was in charge of amateur show. But if I went to Florida a lot, Cocoa Beach, and worked with the ink spots and all different people. But when I come back, I'd always have a beautiful tan, but I had to have it all over. If you had marks on your body from, you would not go on. You're fired.
Just
If your wardrobe wasn't clean, if your hair wasn't done, you're fired. That's your duties to be done. And everybody knew that Barney was like that, from the Purple Onion, from San Francisco, Las Vegas, everybody. Well, one night, Barney's daughter and I was sitting at the ticket deal. I was talking to her, and her parents were out of town. And this guy came in, this was the old lounge, and said, "Is Barney in?" And she says, "No, sir, they're out of town." He said, "Would you leave him this message?" And he filled out this thing and went, "George Liberace." So Barney had a lot of friends, And Barney, a lot of people thought a lot of Barney, but that was the rules. Any girl that worked for them knows that. You did not, now if you got a tan all over, you didn't mark your body up and stuff. And he had that reputation. He had good wardrobe. That's right. And if he liked the way you look, he might tell you, but his wife was an old soft shoe vaudeville lady that taught me a lot. I listened to her, and that's why I got maybe further than, and I could work lots and lots of shows where there was a lot of ladies for listening to her.
What was Barney Weinstein's daughter's name, Jerry?
Maxine.
Is she still alive?
I don't know. I don't know if May his wife is either. I know Abe was. I saw him at a funeral here a while back.
Was it a funeral for somebody?
Well, it was a lady that worked for him, cocktail waitress.
When did you stay with the theater lounge, or after the assassination for how long?
I don't know, probably all winter. And then my mother had taken real ill too. And Barney had to go to Houston. He was a diabetic, and he had to have his veins stripped or something. And when my mother died, he couldn't be here. And everybody's telling him, Barney seen some big acts in his time.
Now you've told me that you visited with Jack occasionally in the jail before he became ill. And
Well, he was becoming mentally ill too when I was visiting him. Telling me things and thinking Jews were killed, and after a while he'd start going on like that.
Well, now he and Sam were both rather erratic in their behavior, wouldn't you say? So I don't know, it might have been a hard thing to determine that one was losing it if they had been as strange as he was to begin with. we knew Sam better than we did Jack. We
Yeah.
owned this ice cream company, manufacturing ice cream. And both of them were wanting really good ice cream that's made with no artificial ingredients or anything. You know, they went real fresh peaches and real cream. And they came up here to Highland Park to buy our ice cream. And we've had some very strange things said to us by Sam with me, and just really incredible things. And
You know, I never did get to know him.
he was a nice guy. I really liked Sam. We knew him quite well. But you have told me that you visited Jack a number of times, and then after your husband Wally left, in 65, 64, 65, that then you would go sometimes twice a week to visit him.
Something like that.
And yet you and Jack didn't have very much to say to each other.
Well, the job for me to do while I was up there is to calm him down. I never had much to do with Jack ever. He was my husband's friend. I didn't have any friends. I was more or less sit down, you're the lady, and be quiet. I'll do the talking. So that's the life I lived. All I did when I went up there was just listen. And he just calmed down. And why his sister got him so mad, I don't know.
Do you know of any other girls from the club
No,
who went up there like you did?
No, and the reason, see, Bill Decker had known me since I was a child, and he knew me real well. He knew my parents. So, and my brother at that time worked for him. He was a deputy sheriff, which was on the city after that. And so he knew us. And I guess he loved my husband. He did a lot of shows for him. And he didn't mind calling him this and this. But I never heard another girl say that.
So after he became very ill, then Bill Decker called you and asked you to come, and you went to the hospital and sat by him.
Yes.
And
Yeah, that was in the paper. I forgot what paper. Now, that Maddox was there, I'm not mistaken. I don't even have that cooking in Bill Decker and myself. And he had a Chinese doctor, or Filipino, but no, I think. But I thought of blood clotted. I don't know.
Well, you may be right. I don't know. I know that the autopsy said just, covered with cancer.
Yeah, I heard that.
There was, then you told me that you were with Bill Decker. They called you to see Bill Decker.
No, Bill Decker was sick. And you talking about when he got sick?
Yeah.
No, my sister was a nurse. He was at Baylor. And my sister took her training there. But when they had to move Mr. Decker to his Presbyterian Hospital because he had to be moved to another department that they didn't have the efficiencies in Baylor, where my sister was with him. Her office is in the Presbyterian Hospital.
Now, the paper said he died at Baylor Medical Center.
Yeah.
That was in 1970, but you know
Yes.
that he was.
Well, I may be wrong, but they said he was up there and what he was saying when he died. I didn't see him, but that's what I heard.
So, you don't want me to say where he was.
Well, I guess if everybody said he died, it's best I didn't, because of the
that's
respect
fine.
that I had for
That's
him.
fine. That's just fine. Okay. Can you think of anything else that you think you might make a book interesting and I mean, your life is certainly has been colorful and it's been interesting. It has not been sordid. It has been but I think it would make a good story. And certainly you know things about Jack that the average person does not know and would be interested in knowing. You never knew, and we know that he did go to Cuba. You didn't know that.
Yeah, I have a brother that even says that, and I said, I didn't want to argue with him.
He says he went to Cuba.
Yeah, but
Well,
he was in the Coast Guard. I'm going, like, I knew where he was all the time. I thought,
Your brother was in the Coast Guard?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's at the time this happened that he had been in there, but he said, you're so dumb. He said, everybody knows you went to Cuba, and I'm going, I don't remember that. Because usually Jack, I guess, the only time I ever missed him was when he took those puppies down in the Texas.
That's something that we didn't get to bring up. When Candy Bar got out of the penitentiary. You say she had surgery. And what did you do? And how
My son and I went down and stayed a week with her.
you kind of waited on her?
Well, not really. She was, you know, she had her half-sister staying there, her daughter, and a couple other kids. She loved kids. And my son was very little then. So Wally let me go down there. I hope it was my surgery instead of her. I think it was hers. Who knows? But I went down there and stayed a week, and she wanted me to let my son come back on vacation.
You remember the little
fishing.
town where she lived?
Edna.
Edna, Texas.
Okay, we caught a bus in Houston because they didn't have no more flights or anything. And I think we had to ride about 50 miles, and she met me in the service station. The only thing that I remember was when she locked up the house, she locked up the house. I mean, all the way down the door. If there'd been a fire, in her bedroom too. So the next day, this knocks the door, and I said, Candy, somebody's at the door. Well, just a minute. I said, Candy, it was locked. And she laughed when she started undoing it, but she knew who was out there. She said, you know, sure as the last time I opened my door, said they give me 15 years. It was a parole officer. She just laughed. Told me you just had to wait, you know. She just, you know, she just didn't want nobody coming through her house. I don't blame her.
When's the last time you saw her?
You know, I saw her on TV on a night talk show. I believe she's selling a book. She had written this a long time ago.
Have you ever heard the name Louis McWillie? He was at the Thunderbird Hotel in Las Vegas. He had been at the National Hotel, running the National Casino and the
No,
Hotel National.
Cecil's the only one I remember.
Who?
But Cecil at the, not the Thunderbird, what am I trying to say? Where I always stay. Short negative.
Louis McWillie is the one who sent the Cobra pistol Jack Ruby sent him a Cobra pistol while he was in Havana.
Huh. I didn't know about that.
Did,
I don't think Wally did, or he might, you know,
well,
because Wally talked a lot, you know.
he bought it from Ray Brantley, I think, over on Singleton, and sent it to him. Did you know Ray Brantley?
No.
What about, have you ever heard the name Irving Weiner, a man in Chicago? He was a bail bondsman in Chicago.
No, the only people I knew from Chicago was that night I told you that came to the club.
There were two of them.
A great big round table full of them. And Wally, you know, sat there with them. I mean, they were just real nice people. And Jack came over, he acted like he didn't really have to be there. And they just passed him through, and he told them to get rid of their guns, that some of the police was there. And the next thing I knew, I heard all this going under the table. And I excused myself. They were real nice people, but, you know, I just thought it was time I moved. But that's the only time I've ever seen anybody like that. But like I say, Wally did let me mix and mingle a lot.
And I have a suspicion that one of those people that night, and I may be wrong, was a man named Barney Baker from Chicago. Barney Baker,
All
he was
these
supposed
guys
to have
from
been
Chicago.
muscle man for Hopper, Jimmy Hopper.
And he owns my insurance, and he did.
Jimmy Hopper was the
Teamsters.
he did
My
what?
insurance. Teamsters.
What?
You've got an insurance company that's
Yeah,
owned
my
by
husband. Yeah, TOX. Yeah. Jimmy
That's
Hopper.
a trucking firm.
Uh-huh. They got good insurance.
They should.
But I understand he's not alive anymore.
We have reason to believe that.
Yeah. I think they dug him up or something, I don't know. People say he's a gangster. I said, I don't care, he pays good insurance. And I think, didn't he have part of the Cabana?
That's an interesting subject. Have you?
Teamsters used to own part of the Cabana down in Dallas.
The one who was publicized was Doris Day, but she was just, I think, name only.
Mm-hmm. Teamsters own part of it too.
Do you remember the name Lawrence Myers, a friend of Ruby's from Chicago? well, he actually worked in Kansas City. He was
The only guy I remember, I don't know if you know him or not, was Cecil at the Desert Inn. He run, every time any of us went there, no matter if we went big money people or anybody, he knew us all because he was the manager of the Dallas Club years ago when they had it upstairs, and then he went to the Desert Inn, and every time we went, we called Cecil. He picked us up. I won't mention the men's names and the girls, but we used to go out there quite frequently.
If we turned this thing off, would you tell?
Well, this one millionaire is, I think, settled down there. He'd buy the whole show and take us, and he liked me, so I just got a bunch of girlfriends while I went around shopping all the time. But Cecil and them did like for him to come out there, you know. They didn't furnish a wheelchair if he got too drunk. So you know how that goes. This is after Wally and I celebration.
When you're not dancing now,
No.
how long has it been since you have danced?
Let's see. I was dancing over bass in you. Oh. Since I was about 40. I was dancing, just still giving it the devil over here at the Mermaid, or not, was it the Mermaid over here by SMU? And all them kids was packing in every night, but I told you I shot my husband out that back here and never do that again, you know, 2 jobs, no help from the
What were you
family.
billed as?
Shari Angel.
Same.
Yeah, I used to write the news for our union. And they offered me a
Which
job.
union was that?
AGBA. Bob Hope's number 3. But they offered me a job when I wrote the deal about Lucille Cunningham, who met her last call. And these people from Colorado, Wally was reading it to me, wanted me to come there and write their paper in the news report, I guess. But he said, don't let me hold you back. And I said, well, you know I can't go do that. But that's the reason I didn't, because I was married to him, and then he felt bad because I had the opportunity to be another Barbara Walters, you know.
I bet you could do a good job
You're
at that.
pretty.
Oh,
yes.
Our Dallas did, didn't she?
That Agva,
AGBA,
yeah, that was quite I'd like to get into that. I'd like to refresh my memory on that. That brings up a whole new kettle of fish,
Yeah.
Agva does.
Okay, let me tell you, I couldn't have done too good if I'd gone to Colorado because I didn't spell, but Wally was always correcting my English. That's why people say they don't know where I'm from. It isn't this, it's that. Well, I'd get all the news gathered up and everything. But Wally was so intelligent, and anybody that knew him knew he was. But he'd help me, and we'd get it all together, and I mean, he would be better than anything you ever read. But this paper in Colorado, they don't call me anymore.
I worked for a bunch of Harvard and Yale lawyers, and they could write a book and nobody would read it. You're going to write one that we're not worried about how you spell the word. People are going to read this book. Don't you agree with me?
I agree, I sure do.
I really do feel that way.
Somebody asked me, I'm going to throw this in for a joke, they said, aren't you scared about this? And I said, scared? I have tried to kill myself. All these times I can't remember. The Lord gave me a new body and a new life. You know, what does he want to kill me again for? You know, no, I am not scared, no. So, you know, I said, but I don't have any suicide tendencies anymore.
You mentioned some of the policemen were wanting to help you.
Oh, yes, Tommy McMillan and all them.
What is Tommy McMillan doing
Oh,
now?
I think he's over in, he's working intelligence, yeah.
Where?
Dallas Police Department.
Okay.
Yeah, he was gonna help me kind of clear up the name of Sheriff Decker, that we knew how good of a man he was to Jack. And
Oh, I
Tommy said-
believe that.
Yeah,
I
Tommy
do
said-
believe that.
Oh, he
No,
was-
I would never suspect
Oh.
that Sheriff Decker did anything
Oh,
to
yeah.
Jack Ruby. But I'm not going to, I'm sorry. I have not been convinced that something didn't happen to
Yeah.
him. I think that somebody else could have done something to him.
Oh, yeah.
Jack's doctor thinks they did.
Well, let me tell you that mine had been because my son was in the Marines and got in jail in California, okay? My brother called me, get him out right away. No, he got those tickets, so let him stay. He said, you don't know what they do to young kids in those jails. Get him out, they'll run him. So I said, how do you let this go on up here? You can't stop it. So if something like that go on, I don't know.
Yeah,
You know,
That's true.
I mean, they just run people up there. So he said, get him out, I don't care what he's done, they'll run him. Now, that's when my brother was with the sheriff's department, and now he was with the city, but I still got a nephew with him. But that was his word, they'll run him in there, and there's nothing you can do, and there's nothing we can do up here. So, maybe something like that happened, it could have happened to Jack.
well, I'm not convinced that it did or didn't, but I'm not going to just, because somebody says Bill Decker, I think Bill Decker was very good to him too, extremely good to him.
See, a lot of people didn't like Bill Decker that worked for him because they thought he was so partial to Buddy Walters, which Buddy was turned into another Bill Decker. But like I say, Buddy was always nice to me, and he let me know I didn't put anything over on the sheriff, you know. If I let a prostitute use my phone, he'd, Shari, I didn't know if she just dropped in, you know, from that Mr. You know who. But she'd be calling him, and they had his line tapped all the time.
Well, that's this character, millionaire.
Yeah, this girl, I knew her real well.
Well,
and
why
she
would
was-
they have some millionaire's phone tapped?
Well, he was a very good friend of, you know the story, of Bill Decker's, and they turned into be good friends and all that. So,
Bobby, I know you got most of your friends call you Bobby Lee, but a lot of your friends call you Shari.
yeah.
Do you remember a policeman with the Dallas police named Joe Cody?
Oh, very well.
What do you remember about Joe?
Well, I don't know. I met a lot of people that graduated with me from every school in Dallas. I know her, I went to school with her. And Joe Cody supposedly went to Woodrow Wilson with me, him and Jack Rebel. So, the first thing, he went to my cousin, which was a friend of her husband, and said, is Shari hustling? Well, instead of her not saying this, she immediately called my mother. And my mother called Captain Ganaway and had Joe Cody and Jack Rebel right there. What all my mother said. But they came up that comedy club that night, and they said, Shari, if you don't call your mother, we're getting fired. And I said, well, you shouldn't have said what you said. They said, Shari, all we said was who's the prettiest girl we went to school with, and everybody said you were. And I said, oh, really? And the newspaper man, I said, you're fixing to flip everybody out. I went to Ursuline, but they all went to school with me. I just never said that. They've never been about it. I said, you're going to flip everybody in Dallas out. I never met nobody I didn't go to school with.
How
So,
well did you know Jack Rebel?
well, Jack Rebel was probably the best looking guy at one time I thought, but he was stuck up. And I just, you know, I mean, he was just
Do you
doing that.
remember the little episode about Jack Rebel and Hosty, James Hosty, and saying we knew he was capable of killing the president, and this caused Jack Rebel quite a bit of problems. You don't remember that?
No, when I knew him, he was playing baseball.
Joe Cody owned something called Aqualane. Did you know anything about that?
No, I know a married girl that owned picture lambs on industrial named Mickey.
What was that? The picture?
Picture, like a corner picture.
Picture. Picture range on industrial. How close was that to the
Right next door where I worked
Where'd you work?
at the 007. She was the landlady too to my boss. She'd do a little number like, roses are red and violets are blue. You know your rent's past due, you know, to my boss. So, yeah, that was her.
Well, now, did you know anything about the Red Line?
Oh, yeah. Joe, what's his name, the outlaw lady? He worked for the water company, too.
Well, now, didn't Joe Cody have something to do with it?
No, that was all with Joe Cody. The picture lamb was the only one. then she had an apartment that she was manager of. They took over that, yeah. That's the one where my boss lived.
Who was your boss?
Jack Grubbs. He's deceased now, but he was a good guy.
And he owned the 007.
007.
All right, did you know Bill Downey?
Mm-hmm.
He was a friend of Ruben's. What would you say the relationship was, as far as you can, the best you can remember? What was the relationship between the majority of the Dallas police and the entertainers in the clubs and in Dallas?
We were all friends.
All friends. You don't know of any where they
Well, I don't know. Charlie Moore, I think he's dead now, and all the old timers. I mean, we abided to all the rules, and we wanted to go to Fair Park and get some saltwater candy or hot dogs. They'd pick us up and go right through the gate. We'd get it and go back. And they'd call sometimes, is Sue gonna be working tonight? I said, yes, I'm not gonna mention his name. He's dead, but his wife is. Well, we're gonna have to stake out some houses tonight. Won't you come down here? I said, well, I was say with y'all staking out them houses, but like Charlie Moore went to cleaning business. We all used as cleaners and just whatever jobs they went into, we always stayed friends. And then some of them's wife didn't like it, so that was it. But yeah, all them sweetest policeman that's living today, that's dearest to my heart, is Tommy McMillan.
He's the one who would really wants to see you rank this.
That's right. And I'll tell you one thing. I don't know anybody that don't think he's sweet. And he'll always find a good word for anybody.
Oh.
And he married when he was 50. I mean, he married him about cutie. She keeps him going, it's the best thing. And then he found out he had cancer. But now it's nearly all gone.
Tommy McMillan, he's now working intelligence. What did he do back in '63? What was his area?
Well, he's there. I don't know what he did, but if anytime you got to call and talk to him, he is a fine person. If anything you need to know, you can.
And you told me that you do not remember anything about Louis McWillie. Now, Santos Trafficante, the head of the mafia in Florida, Cuba at one time. Did you ever hear that name? Jack Ruby supposedly, when he was in Cuba, the House Select Committee pretty well determined that he visited Santos Trafficante in prison. They had him in prison, and that Ruby visited him. And you don't know the name Irving Wiener, but you remember Cecil at the Desert Inn.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he had been the manager of the Dallas Club.
Dallas nightclub. Yeah, it's upstairs, crossing. Was there on Commerce, but it was like go across towards Baker, and then crossing, it's in the middle of the block. Yeah, he had a piano bar and all that stuff up there, and then he went to the Desert Inn in the lounge. He was over the lounge.
Okay. And at one time, you don't know whether Barney Baker was one of that table of big people who came from Chicago.
No, not much I knew, except it was dark and guns hitting the floor.
And TOX is the insurance company that you
My
have.
husband
Your
works for.
husband worked for, and Jimmy Hoffa's bunch owned it. You told me once that you did write the news column for the Ag Vote.
For Dallas.
For Dallas. And there were two men. Palmer was one of the men who was, they had their office down there on Browder in that interurban building.
Yeah. But Palmer don't sound familiar because those people come to my mother's funeral. That wasn't their
Palmer
name.
was not his real name. We know that. I've got his real name.
Okay, well anyway, but I wrote that and it wasn't him that said that because see it goes all over. And the people in Colorado that had to get it, it was during the time Lucille Cunningham was a fine piano player out here on Lover's Lane. And I just wrote like she met her last curtain call and all. Me and Wally, well, we dare forget us.
Was she at the town pub? Her town pub, Lucille?
Lucille Cunningham.
Oh.
She so fat they couldn't get her casket out. And she wore fingernails. And she used to sit with me at the beauty shop, and I'd hate the same thing, because most big women do dress gaudy, right? She'd have a blue one here, a pink one here, green one, black.
Oh, my
And
God.
you know, when she's fat, that was her,
That was a crazy.
I didn't ask her why, but I, but, yeah, and she was well thought of.
You wrote the obituary.
Yes.
And then this, wealthy Dallas man, we won't call any names, but he